France is home to the world's most iconic cheeses. Today, we're going to try 5 really iconic ones: Brie de Meaux, Munster, Comté, Ossau-Iraty, and Roquefort. So whether you're a real cheese connoisseur or a budding cheese lover, please join us for this delicious journey. My name is Svetlana, and I'm the founder of The Cheese Lady. We are a multi-award winning cheese retailer based in Scotland. And today I'm joined by Holly, my friend in cheese and a very enthusiastic cheese lover. And we're going to share with you our passion for these delicious cheeses and try them together. So, Holly, shall we dig in?
Please, let's.
So we're gonna start with Brie de Meaux, which is probably, shall we say, the king of cheeses. I think it was said before at the Congress of Vienna, I believe, and it was named the king of cheeses. And I think to this day, it's really admired worldwide.
Yeah.
So it's a soft cheese from Ile-de-France, and that is the region just outside of Paris.
That's right, yeah.
So quite central in France. And it's a soft cheese, as you may know. It has a bloomy rind.
That gorgeous white bloomy rind, yeah.
So yes, see that white rind? And while the cheese is maturing, the rind can evolve as well, and will develop these brownie kind of little bits, little veins. So that's a sign of how mature Brie de Meaux is. The more veining there is, the stronger it will be. And speaking of maturity, also you may notice inside the paste in the cheese there, if Brie de Meaux is very young, there will be kind of crumbly texture, whereas what we have today, there's just a little touch I can see nearly there at the back of the crumbliness. So that means this cheese is fully ripe. It's fully glossy throughout. So let's have a little sniff.
Instantly you get that mushroominess on the rind, don't you?
Mushroomy aroma. In terms of texture, it's kind of squeegeable. I want to say squeezable.
Yeah, it's very soft.
If we had a knife, we probably could spread it.
Yeah.
But I would like to say that Brie de Meaux, there's kind of a misconception there, shouldn't be runny. Some people will come into the shop and say, oh, do you have any really runny Brie? Classic Brie doesn't run, it kind of bulges. So if it's bulgy, it's ready. If it doesn't have any crumbly bits in the middle, it's ready. However, it can be enjoyed at any maturity. So if you like a slightly lighter flavor with more kind of milky notes, you can enjoy it younger. So of course it's cow's milk, we should say. Cow's milk, traditional rennet. The French really like to stick to their traditional ways of cheese making. So we don't actually have a vegetarian rennet here at all. Yeah, and the color-wise, it's kind of a touch of cream. Yeah, shall I say, in contrast to the white. Yeah. So what do you think about the flavor?
As soon as you bite into it, I mean, it's just texture-wise, it's almost like butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get those kind of vegetal notes again when you taste it, and it's creamy, delicious, savory. Yeah, classic Brie.
It's mouth coating. It's kind of sticky on the palate, isn't it? And there's a contrast to the rind, which is a little bit more chewy. But it's never too thick and never unpleasant, which I find in some maybe less classic Bries, shall we say. The rind can be a little bit too intrusive in the flavor and texture, and this one is just very elegantly done. And it's really part of the cheese. It doesn't separate in any way. It's just kind of very well integrated, which is great.
Absolutely edible and part of the experience, so definitely eat the rinds.
So if we were to enjoy this cheese with a wine, where do you think you would like to go?
It definitely needs to be something quite light-bodied. If you were doing a red or Pinot Noir or something like that, but what would you recommend?
I think Pinot Noir, if it's a red, absolutely great idea. I would say also a rosé wine. White doesn't work for me so much because I think it has too much kind of mushroomy thing going on, and maybe not so much champagne. I know some people say, oh, have champagne with Brie. Not too much for me because it's kind of vegetal. And mushroomy, but the world is your oyster. So give it a try. If you like it, that's the most important thing. So don't stop yourself. But if you wanted a more harmonious, I suppose, pairing, perhaps a light red or a rosé.
Rosé, I think, would be right.
Yes. Okie dokes. Do we have anything else we like to share about Brie de Meaux?
Is it true that the French prefer it to be slightly underripe? They like that slight.
I actually don't know about all the French. I think there will be different palates just as anywhere else in the world. And perhaps, yeah, they don't necessarily have it overripe, that's for sure, but then they're spoiled for choice. And when they go to their cheesemongers, they can select whatever ripeness they want. And also, speaking of ripeness and brie, there is such a thing as brie noir.
Oh, yes.
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 So that's a black brie where they mature brie to some extreme period of time, which it never gets matured for. And it gets really dry, firm in texture and black, and hence the name black brie. I've tried it. It's just a little slither of it. I mean, personally, I would still prefer the creamy, gooey one, but yeah, it's an experience. If you really like strong, kind of bitey flavors, it's that. Well, shall we move on to our next cheese? So for the next one, we're going across to Alsace, and that's in the east of France, you know, where France borders Germany. And the region actually has a turbulent history in terms of at some point belonging to France, Germany. So, and it's very reflective. I actually had the pleasure of visiting, and it looks so picturesque and beautiful. It's a must visit if you can. And when it comes to cheese, there is really one iconic cheese from Alsace, and that is Munster. That's what they're famous for when it comes to cheese. And you can see immediately between Brie and Munster, there's a difference in color, at least on the outside. So this is a different rind. If Brie was a bloomy rind, this is a washed rind. So washed rind is when the cheese gets washed during its maturation with a brine solution, and that's what helps us to develop this particular style, which, as we will discover when we smell it especially, has a very particular USP.
Indeed.
What would you call it, Holly?
Stinky in the politest of ways.
Yes.
But not overpoweringly stinky. It's not a poisse territory. It's
Yes. So washed rinds are aromatic. I personally prefer that word. I mean, stinky is probably closer to the truth, but aromatic for sure. And color-wise,
yes,
because
it's orangey and it's sticky.
The rind is sticky, orangey for sure, and the paste inside is actually similar in color to
Similar
Brie.
to the Brie, very similar. Yeah,
cow's milk. And the same way as Brie, Munster matures from outside in, so it may have like a chalky core in the middle.
Okay, slightly firmer on the interior than around the edges towards the rind. Okay.
Exactly. So you can enjoy it at any age. The minimum maturation for Munster is 3 weeks, but it can be matured for up to 10 weeks. And personally, I do love it at 10 weeks and maybe even more when it's fully gooey, fully creamy. And again, even though it's kind of a creamy, soft cheese, it shouldn't run. It won't run. It's gonna bulge.
Instantly, I'm getting a real umami, savory, meaty flavor to it. It's delicious. And I don't know what's in the brine, or what they wash it with, but there's something slightly winey about the rind on that for me.
The rind definitely has a little bit of a tang. And the inside of the cheese. I think this one is actually a little bit on the younger side. So inside it's almost kind of yogurty, fresh and milky. And on the outside it's smelly and aromatic. In terms of the rind, or the brine, I actually don't know there aren't any facts released about this cheese, so it's not like a USP. It's not necessarily a secret, but I suspect it's just a salty water solution. So beautiful, isn't it?
It really is.
And if we're thinking about wine,
I'm going to go aromatic to match with the cheese. So are we in kind of Gewürz territory, perhaps, with this?
Well, absolutely, since what grows together goes together.
Indeed, yeah.
Alsace, if you know your Alsace wines, they are quite characterful, shall we say. They're beautiful and aromatic. Gewürztraminer is definitely one of those wines that can work with a wash-rind cheese. But I would say to you, watch the maturity of the Munster. If it's a slightly younger one, don't go with the Gewürztraminer, go maybe more with the Pinot Gris. Yeah, but a nice, not too zesty, a white wine.
Yeah. Would you want something slightly off dry?
Slightly off dry. Yeah.
Okay.
Not a Pinot Grigio, but more Pinot Gris, Alsace style, that kind of thing. Very subtle differences, obviously. But the riper, the more characterful the Munster is, then it's more lending itself to Gewürztraminer.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, one of my absolute favorite cheeses.
Yeah, I love it too.
I have to have a wash rind on my board, and it's usually one of those wash rinds on my board. So moving swiftly on to another region of France, and now we're gonna discover and talk about one of the most iconic cheeses, I think, of France. I mean, it's a competition between the Brie and the Comté and actually Roquefort. They're all right up there, but Comté has an incredibly long history, and it is to the French people what cheddar is to the British people. Yeah. So it's like their cheese, what they're born and grew up eating. But it can be a little bit misunderstood as a result. I think there's a lot to uncover here. So made with cow's milk and traditional rennet. So from Franche Comté, which is a mountainous region south of Alsace, still on the east side of France. And of course here we are having a contrast of textures immediately. Yeah. So we had two soft ones here. We're going into firms. So if you press on the paste of your cheese, it doesn't spread. You couldn't spread this with a knife, so it's a firm cheese. We can, of course, smell it. The Comté that we stock here, the cheese laid, is 20 months plus. Yeah. Which is important. So if you like complex, strong flavors and you want the best out of the cheese, if I compare our Comté to the ones available in supermarkets, the age is at least 5 times more. So in supermarkets, you would find Comtés matured for minimum allowable by law, which is about 4 months, and this is at 20 plus, 5 times more. Yeah. 5 times the flavor.
Yeah, you do the math.
5 times the intensity.
Yeah.
Do I need to say anymore?
Yeah.
So what do we think?
On the nose, instantly, I get kind of fruity notes, nutty notes, slight sweetness.
Toasty. Absolutely beautiful.
It's so complex. There's so many flavors in there.
A very smooth paste. Once you start chewing it, just kind of melts in your mouth. And how full on that is. It just,
I know,
is a symphony of flavors.
I know, I don't know where to start.
Yeah. For me, definitely nutty, predominantly. Nutty, toasty, kind of umami. I like that idea. Very soothing. Like, it's comfort food. It's just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. I got a little protein crystal in there as well.
I was just going to say, it crunched in my teeth as well.
Nice crunch.
So, protein crystals in the paste. So if you look at our Comté here, you'll see there are dots throughout the paste. They are clumps of protein because as cheeses mature, proteins clump together. So it's not specific to Comté or any other cheese. It's specific to mature cheeses. Okay. So it can happen in Goudas, it can happen in cheddars, Alpine cheeses. So it's kind of a universal thing. And most importantly, it's not salt.
No.
If there were bits of salt, I would say that's a little bit of a faulty cheese. So absolutely delicious.
Talk to me about the grading and the green label here.
I'm sorry, I'm just enjoying it. I can't talk at the moment, otherwise occupied. Okay, so what Holly is referring to is this green label at the back. Obviously, because it's such an iconic cheese, there can be counterfeit cheeses made and pretending to be it. They had to develop lots of laws and rules for creating it. And there are different grades of it as well. So as these wheels mature in the caves, they always get checked. There is a grader that goes around, and the wheels don't that don't meet the criteria, so there is like a point system, they'll get put into
something else. They're not allowed to call it Comté if it scores below a certain amount, I believe.
Kinda, yes. I think it's 1 to 20. I don't remember the exact numbers. But if it scores low, it will get a brown Comté sign here. And it's still allowed to be called Comté, but it's not allowed to be maybe matured for as long, or maybe they don't think there's enough potential in that cheese. And only the best wheels, they will get the green label on the back, and they will be matured for much longer, developing the kind of proper complex flavors. And whatever doesn't pass, doesn't even get the brown label, that gets shredded and goes into supermarket bags of cheese. So yeah, very important. If you want the proper stuff, go for the green label. And go for something matured, I would say, for at least 14 months, but best 20, just to get even more complexity there. And of course, at Christmas, we bring in 36 months Comté. That's a treat. That's an absolute beauty. So we hope you enjoy that at home. Speaking of enjoying it, what do you think for wine?
Well, I know the classic pairing for Comté is it Vin Jaune?
All right. So
now, why is that? Are they grown in similar regions? Or?
Oh no, Vin Jaune is from the same region.
Yes, right. Yes. But the kind of yeastiness of that would work really well with the cheese.
So if you're not familiar with Vin Jaune, you guys at home, it's a little bit like a drier sherry. So if you think of a manzanilla sherry, that kind of thing. It's a white wine. It's matured under this floor, which is a yeasty layer on the top. So it kind of develops these walnutty notes with a little bit of good bit of acidity. So it's a very complex and unusual wine. And as we mentioned, that Comté is so nutty and so complex, those walnutty or other nutty notes, they work together just beautifully. I mean, Vin Jaune is expensive though.
I know, and quite difficult to get, certainly in East Lothian.
It's pretty much impossible to find. If you go to France, do get yourself a bottle. But if you don't find Vin Jaune and don't necessarily want that experience, I think complex wines with good body, whether it's white or red. For white, I would say oaked. So something with a touch at least of oak, or vintage champagne.
Oh, I like your thinking.
Yes, we love champagne here. So anything that goes with champagne is very popular with us. Texture-wise, because it's so fine and smooth, I think with a full kind of developed champagne would work really nicely. We're right there. We're tasting it now. Comté, there's so much more we can say, but we leave you to discover more for yourself at home. Enjoy it. Let's move on to our next cheese, Ossau-Iraty, or if we were to say it in French, Ossau-Iraty. So the stress falls on the last syllable. So this is a sheep's milk. We've had cow's milk so far. So we're changing gears slightly, and we're going to the south of France. So if you think that kind of area bordering Spain in the south, the Basque country, so the Pyrenees, and this is the most iconic cheese from that area. There are many cheeses that are produced and kind of imitate Ossau-Iraty, but this is the one, the granddaddy of them all.
You can tell instantly that they use milk by the colour, the different colour of the cheese.
Yes, amazing. So have a look. This is kind of more, should we say, a touch of hay, gold, kind of deep yellowy hue colours, and this is more towards ivory.
Ivory,
lighter, but still quite intense for its type. So a natural rind here, the same as on Comté. Whether you eat it, it's your choice. It's not going to harm you, but you may find it just dry and maybe a bit too moldy and not as exciting as what's inside. And what's inside is this gorgeous cheese.
Would you say that's semi-firm? It's got that spring to it?
It's got spring to it, but not quite as much spring as, let's say, raclette or Morbier.
Sure.
So personally, I would call it a firm cheese.
Okay.
And this is in contrast to the hard cheese that doesn't have any give at all. So aroma-wise,
Just a really mellow, kind of slightly nutty.
a touch of caramel, nutty, definitely.
Yeah, slight sweetness.
Maybe buttery. I think buttery. Amazing. And on the palate,
It's lovely and smooth.
oh God, yes. It's definitely a bit creamier than the Comté, but as it's sheep's milk, I kind of tend to go after with that. It is so creamy and smooth. These wheels have been matured for maybe 4 months plus, but putting things in perspective, Ossau-Iraty is about 4 kilos the whole wheel, whereas Comté is 40 kilos.
It's a 40 kilo wheel, yeah.
10 times the size, hence why we need a longer time to develop the flavor in the Comté, whereas these wheels mature a bit quicker. They're so much smaller. But how incredible is this?
I know. I think that would be that's a real crowd pleaser. That it's really, really approachable.
I have to say, I've not met many, if any, people who didn't like Ossau-Iraty.
Yeah.
That is just one of those cheeses you can be sure people are going to love.
Yeah, yeah. I remember, did you not do a slightly longer matured one?
Yeah, we
A
did.
special in the shop. That was special as well.
Yes. We had an experiment here and we matured for double the age, and the flavors, of course, got more intense. The texture got firmer. The whole thing just got even more exciting. But whatever the age, I think, well, 4 months plus, Ossau-Iraty is always a winner.
Yeah.
And if I were to enjoy it with wine, red wine for me, because of sheep's milk. I don't know if it's just my thing, but sheep's milk cheeses work better with red wines.
Okay.
But in terms of the body of the red wine, I think you would have to match it to the maturity.
Yeah, so like a medium-bodied.
Medium-bodied or maybe a lighter one, depends on the age of the Ossau-Iraty.
Okay.
Whenever in doubt, just chat to your cheesemonger and say, oh, how mature is this Ossau-Iraty? What would you recommend in terms of red wine? Should I go light, medium, more full-bodied? So always worth a discussion. Well, we love that, didn't we?
Another winner.
And now on to our 5th cheese. And this is another... I mean, they're all iconic, but this is...
King of Blues.
King of Blues, absolutely. What else can we say? But again, same as with Comté, there's a lot of nuance. And if you want a Roquefort that is just creme de la creme, listen up.
Is this it?
Listen up. There are some nuances that you want to bear in mind. So where should I start? Just a bit of detail about Roquefort producers. There are 7.
There's 7, okay.
7. In total, 2 of them are huge, massive conglomerates.
Okay.
And they have over half of the market. Yes. And that's the ones that we will find in supermarkets. You don't need me to name the names. You see them in supermarkets. And what happens with those cheeses, a lot of the times, they're cut into small pieces, vacuum packed, and unfortunately does affect the flavor and the texture. Whereas the other 5 producers, they're smaller, they're much smaller, and they do things slightly differently. What we love here at the Cheese Lady is this Le Vieux Berger. Le Vieux Berger, so the Old Shepherd, that's produced by Maison Comte, and they are the smallest.
Okay.
So out of all 7, they're the smallest producer. They are a family-run operation. I actually had the pleasure of meeting the mom, the dad, and the daughter that currently are in charge. They're 3rd-generation cheesemakers. So they have been making this since the 1920s.
Wow.
Very, very traditionally, just carrying on this authentic way. And I believe that their Roquefort is superior. I've tried other ones that were very good, I have to say. But my preference is Le Vieux Berger. I mean, it's just phenomenal. It's never vacuum packed. No. It's never suffocated in any way. So we cut it from the wheel. Of course, it can change seasonally. I do find it tastes slightly different throughout the year. And that's part of the excitement of the artisan cheese, isn't it? it just evolves. It's never the same. We don't want standardization. Artisan cheese. Shall we discover it?
Yeah, let's have a look. I'm noticing there's not much of a rind at all to talk about on this cheese. Got a nice blue-green marbling throughout it. It looks creamy. It looks slightly crumbly.
So yes, definitely no rind. All Roqueforts, once they're made, or at some point of their maturation, they get wrapped in foil, so they don't develop rinds. But what is really kind of special about this cheese is, of course, that they're matured in the natural caves. That is definitely the USP of all Roqueforts. All of the 7 producers have a share of the caves, and that is believed, and it has been confirmed, to bring the character to Roquefort. There is the special mold that is there and grows inside the wheel. And what's really good about these caves, and it's so ingenious, and obviously thank you Mother Nature for creating that, the caves have natural openings, natural cracks, which allow for natural air circulation. Imagine how much they're saving on electricity in all of this. That's why I think it's so genius. There's a natural air circulation and a constant temperature. So absolutely perfect for maturing cheeses.
Yeah.
And what do we think about its taste?
I mean, it certainly hits you. It's definitely in the strong blue cheese category. Real tang to it.
To be fair, I think our pieces are not the core. They're not from the core, so they're not like the strongest. But the closer you get to the middle, you can see that there is more marbling than, let's say, at the bottom of the cheese. But it is strong.
Creamy, it's strong. Yeah, it's delicious though.
It definitely makes your whole mouth alive.
Yeah.
And this is where I immediately want to add a little bit of wine to the experience. The classic combination. Roquefort and Sauterne.
Yeah.
If you haven't had Roquefort and Sauterne together, you haven't lived. Please give yourself that favor. Enjoy them together. Blend them. Absolutely transformative experience. Yes. I think our Roquefort today, to be fair, is a little bit young. I think there's just a slight crumble. So you want to kind of really look out for more mature wheels, but completely up to you. If you want it a little bit later, again, worth a conversation with the cheesemonger, and you can say, how's your Roquefort today? Would you say it's really punchy and ripe and mature? So yeah, we can always advise you on that. But a phenomenal cheese. Holly, I have a question for you. Do you have a favorite?
Surely cannot make me choose. I mean, we've got such absolute icons here, and each of them stand out for different reasons. I mean, I love the Roquefort, I love the Comté, I love the Munster. If you forced me, Comté.
Oh God.
If I had to eat a single cheese every day for the rest of my life, I would choose the Comté.
Yeah, I have to say.
How about you?
I have to agree, because as much as I love all the other 4, I think Comté is just the pinnacle. And if I'm thinking pragmatically, it's a big wheel. That would last me a while. But no, it's just so complex and so versatile. You can cook with it, you can enjoy it with a glass of wine, share or not share it with people. Yeah, it's just beautiful. But the other 4 iconic cheeses are just a delight as well. And they're good for certain wines, certain moods, and for different reasons. And just they work together. As a board, I think this is a phenomenal board. So if you want a classic French cheese board, voila. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video at home. Please let us know in the comments below if you had a favorite cheese or what else you would like us to chat about in the next videos. Thank you so much, Holly, for joining me today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.